Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a case from the digital archives that is, frankly, gonna make you look at your own street a little differently. It's a deeply chilling story about a picture-perfect neighborhood and a man absolutely nobody suspected. Seriously, think about it for a second. How well do you really know the people next door? We all kind of just assume we're completely safe in our suburban homes, right? Surrounded by friendly faces. But as the source material for today's Explainer reveals, sometimes the most dangerous people aren't random strangers lurking in the shadows. They're actually the ones we inherently trust. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the perfect neighbor. It all begins in the quiet, super idyllic suburbs of Portland, Oregon in the fall of 2013. So 26-year-old Rachel Ellis had just moved into a modest rental house on Birchwood Lane. It was the kind of street where kids ride bikes until sunset and neighbors wave from the porches. And right next door, you had Gary Holt. We'll call this version Public Gary. He was in his mid-50s, super soft-spoken. He was the guy fixing things for elderly neighbors without even being asked, and he literally brought Rachel a pie on moving day. Everyone trusted him, but behind that polite smile was hidden Gary, a man with a secret spare key, a completely unknown past, and incredibly sinister motives hiding just out of sight. Which brings us to Section 2, escalation and disappearance. Rachel's first few months on Birchwood Lane were totally ordinary, until these deeply unsettling red flags started to pop up. Now, the changes were really subtle at first. Her curtains, which she habitually left slightly open, would mysteriously be closed when she got home. A book she knew for a fact she'd left on the coffee table would somehow migrate to the kitchen counter. Initially, Rachel just dismissed these tiny, terrifying changes as simple misremembering. And you know how it is. It's a new house, you have new habits, it is incredibly easy to second-guess yourself. But she actually wasn't misremembering. Then the letters started. Late one night, a typed, unsigned letter was slipped right under her door. It read simply, "I like watching you cook dinner." A week later, a second letter arrived saying, "Blue looks better on you than red." Just imagine the absolute terror of realizing someone isn't just watching you, but they are actively invading your personal sanctuary. Let's move along and see how this builds, because the escalation was rapid. Rachel moves in during the fall of 2013. By week 1 of the stalking, that first letter arrives. Week 2 brings the second letter, prompting Rachel to file a police report. But, without a suspect, there's very little the police can actually do. During week 3, Gary secretly makes a spare key. He literally borrowed a set from the landlord under the guise of checking the water heater. By week 4, Rachel's coworker Denise stops by unannounced, finds Rachel's car in the driveway, lights are on, but no Rachel. Denise immediately calls the police. 6 days go by, and Rachel remains completely missing. So we hit Section 3, the phantom identity. Detective Mark Whitfield catches the case, and the scene waiting for him is just baffling. It was impossible to parse. It's an empty house, there's a half-cooked dinner still on the stove, but absolutely zero signs of a struggle and no forced entry. Faced with a literal ghost, Whitfield employs this brilliant, unconventional tactic. Step 1, he canvassed the entire street door to door, not just once, but twice. Step 2, on the second pass, he changes his question. Instead of asking if anyone saw anything suspicious, he asks, who on the street has lived here the longest? And step 3, that question immediately pinpoints Gary Holt. 16 years on the lane, a model neighbor nobody thought twice about. But Whitfield decides to run a background check anyway. Well, when that background check came back, it stopped the detective cold, 1998. So the crucial point here is that the name Gary Holt did not exist anywhere before that specific year. No birth record, no prior address, absolutely zero history before 1998. Gary was using what's known as a ghost identity. It's a completely fabricated identity built from scratch, totally lacking any historical footprint or prior records. And while local judges usually move pretty slowly on mere gut feelings, a guy with literally no past? That is a massive red flag. It was exactly the leverage Whitfield needed to secure a search warrant. All right, the tension really peaks here in Section 4, the hidden room. Just 2 nights later, police execute that search warrant while Gary is out of the house. He wasn't home because he was out on what the neighbors called a routine hardware store run. Fun fact, it's an excuse investigators later found out he had used before in other states under totally different names. Anyway, as police search the property, they enter the crawl space beneath the garage. And there, they find this tiny hidden door. Behind it was a narrow concrete room. Inside that horrifying space, they made an incredible discovery. Rachel Ellis was in there. She was terrified, severely dehydrated, but guys, miraculously, she was alive. Gary was arrested 3 days later, 400 miles away at a gas station, using a credit card under yet another fake identity. When Detective Whitfield finally sat across from him in the interrogation room, Gary just sat there in silence for an hour. Then, he delivered this chilling, boastful confession. He said, "I've done this before. You'll find the others if you look hard enough. I kept records."
Which leads us straight into Section 5, the chilling twist. Because the absolute most terrifying truth of all, Gary Holt wasn't bluffing. He was telling the absolute truth about his past. Investigators ended up tracking down a storage unit 2 towns over, rented under yet another false name. Inside, they found a locked filing cabinet containing this horrifying cache of evidence. We're talking meticulously organized folders dating back over 15 years, deeply disturbing photographs, highly detailed written notes, and the specific addresses of his victims. 4. That is the tragic scale of his crimes uncovered in those files. Investigators found records of 4 other women spread out across 4 different states, all going back to that mystery year of 1998. And tragically, of those 4 women, only one besides Rachel was ever found alive. Now, what's really interesting here is the psychology of it all. Investigators asked him why he never left Rachel's street, even after she put him at massive risk of discovery by calling the cops. His answer gives us a terrifying look into his mind. "I always stay until it feels finished. That's the mistake that finally caught me." He didn't run when the police were called because his twisted compulsion to finish his process completely outweighed his fear of getting caught. And the crazy thing is, Gary Holt's true identity remains entirely unknown to this day. He's currently serving multiple consecutive life sentences and has never once revealed his real name. Actually, investigators suspect the name on his birth certificate might not even be one he remembers anymore. Meanwhile, cold case units across 3 different states are still struggling to uncover who he really was before 1998, just continually searching for the origin of this ghost. So that brings us to the end of today's explainer, and to this final provocative question. Who is your neighbor? It's the kind of case that really forces us to rethink our own surroundings. Honestly, the next time someone brings you a pie on moving day, you might just wonder what they're hiding. Thanks for joining me as we unpacked this deeply unsettling story. Keep questioning what you see out there, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.